The world is hurting right now, and it's time to rise up. As we lift ourselves up in body, mind, and spirit, we can reach out to others and be a light in a sea of darkness. Welcome to the Movement for Global Health with your host, Dr. Mary Zennett.
Lisa Nichols is a business coach and an EFT tapping practitioner. She specializes in helping women entrepreneurs tap into their inner wisdom, catalyzing their business success. She's a former journalist. She's also a former vice president of a Fortune 500 company, and she has held leadership positions with several nonprofits. She's a two-time best-selling author of parenting books and a Reiki master. Lisa, it's an absolute privilege to welcome you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's wonderful. Let's talk first. Half of new businesses shut down within 3 years. What is your take on this?
Well, my take is that people don't really know what they're signing up for when they start a new business, because there's a huge learning curve, yes, on how to run a business. Everything from managing employees to payroll to all the things that go into running a business. But what they don't realize is how hard it is when you walk into your business with beliefs and thought patterns and emotional triggers that get triggered, that get going when they start a business. I often say that there are three big teachers in my life: being a parent, being in relationship, and having a business. Because having a business just brings up all these things about ourselves, that like self-doubt or lack of confidence or hating being seen or procrastination, or there's so many things that we walk into our business with. And I think a lot of people don't realize that in addition to learning how to do your business, you also need to work on your mindset and making sure that you stay up with your business. It's not just a one and done, but as your business grows, you also need to grow your mindset. You need to really look at your thoughts and your beliefs and how you limit yourself, how you stop yourself from feeling worthy of business success, from taking the steps that you need to take, etc. There's just, I think it's a lot of it is mindset.
It's mindset, and you know what? Emotions get triggered.
Yes.
And we all have emotions, but so like you say, with your mind, thoughts, feelings, emotions that all are under the surface, and yet we're so busy just doing. And what you're saying is you got to get to the root. That's what I'm hearing you say. You've got to address this.
Absolutely.
To
right.
be successful.
Absolutely. And there's a coaching model out there created by Brooke Castillo that talks about, there's a circumstance and the circumstance is neutral. And then we have a thought, and that thought might be, I don't know how to do this. And then based on the thought, we have a feeling. And a lot of times people think we have the feeling and then we have the thought, but it's really the thought that comes first. And so then we have that feeling like, I don't know how to do this. So we have the kind of panic, or, oh, I need to go watch Netflix, or, there's lots of feelings that you could have based on the thought, I don't know how to do this. And then based on your feeling, you take an action. So if your feeling is, oh, I got this, you're going to go do it. But if your feeling is, I don't know how to do this and it's scary, and then you will go sit on the couch.
Absolutely.
And then that is out of your actions, is where you get your results. So it really stems from the thoughts that lead to the feelings.
Wow. So literally half of all new businesses shut down within 3 years.
Yes.
That's a very sobering statistic.
Well, and there's so many things that go into that. For example, someone may go through a divorce, or they found out they thought they wanted one kind of business and they found out it's not the right one for them. So it's a lot of, so many things that go into why a business shuts down. But my belief is that the biggest reason is the mindset and not dealing with your emotions that come up when you start a business.
Yes. Now, what would you say is the most common way that women entrepreneurs sabotage them?
Well, it's kind of repeating myself a little bit, but it's believing your thoughts. It's believing the critical little voice in your head. It's believing that that they are truth with a capital T. And it's believing, those feelings that come up and thinking that they can't deal with the feelings that they have, and if you have a feeling, it's just a feeling. But a lot of people, and I was this way for many, most of my life, and still am sometimes, it's hard to kind of override your feeling. But when you get used to looking at your thoughts and noticing, being aware, then you could say something like, oh, I'm uncomfortable because I don't know how to do this. I'd really like to withdraw and not have to deal with this, but it's just a feeling. So, or going back to that thought of, I don't know how to do this. Well, you can actually choose your thoughts. So if you are, looking at how to set up a Facebook group, and your thought is, I don't know how to do this, you can choose to say, but I'm going to figure it out. And so the biggest way that women entrepreneurs sabotage themselves is believing the thoughts that they have and not questioning them, not choosing what the thoughts that they really want to have.
Right. And override, of course, it's anxiety provoking. Say it's building a funnel or expanding your list. I mean, there's so many details running a business. So, and it can be a solopreneur, or there can be multiple people in the business. Regardless, it's a steep learning curve, and there's always something new. But what I'm hearing you say is, of course, that transient thought is gonna, but go past it, get past it. It's the bottom line is you're there for a reason. And I hear leaders say that, you know what, you got a vision, you're there for a reason. There's something very important that calls you to this business, and get regrounded in yourself.
Yeah. And by addressing your thought patterns and your beliefs and those emotional triggers that you have, you become a better business owner and a better leader.
Exactly. So let's lead into the tapping. You are an EFT tapping practitioner. In case listeners are not aware, can you describe it a little bit for us?
I can. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And it's also called tapping because you literally tap on your body, on meridian points or energy points in your body. And this has been around since the 1980s, and it came out of something that actually thought field therapy that started in the 1970s. And this is not like a woo kind of even though it's energy psychology, it's a form of energy psychology, but there is science behind it. There are way over 100 studies that show the efficacy, including one that shows that EFT tapping reduces dopamine over 40%. And so dopamine being the stress hormone. And so EFT tapping is excellent for using to reduce stress and anxiety and everything from PTSD in veterans to sugar cravings. And it's a process that is effective and quick. It's not like you have to talk about something for 20 years. It's rare that someone will need to do EFT tapping more than 10 times to address a deep-seated issue.
Wow. So then how do you integrate the tapping for women entrepreneurs?
Well, let's say that you're a procrastinator and you believe you're just lazy. You procrastinate because you're lazy. Or you were just born that way. It's just a personality trait you were born with. Well, neither one is true. Procrastination is, well, everyone procrastinates it sometimes, but a chronic procrastinator, it's really a survival mechanism that you created when you were a child based on the circumstances in your lives, usually when you were a child, based on the circumstances in your life. So let's say that you had highly critical parents. Well, if you're going to be criticized all the time anyway, why try? Why even put yourself out there? Why even do something that invites criticism? So you start to procrastinate. Or let's say you had controlling parents, and everyone, children, teens, everyone wants some level of autonomy and control over their lives and their bodies and everything. And so one of the only ways that you find that you can have some level of control is to kind of passive aggressively start to procrastinate. And so, which is fine when you're a child and you're just dealing with growing up, but when you're 40 and you're still procrastinating in rebellion to your parents, it can impact your life big time. So when I work with people, with my clients, my women entrepreneurs, we're looking at where they're stuck, where they're holding themselves back, where they're struggling, and what beliefs are leading to those struggles. And then using EFT tapping to release the belief, the emotional charge, and transform it into something more. That's why the EFT tapping and the coaching is so great together. Because not only do we release the old thought pattern, but we create the new one, the more positive, the more empowering one, and the one that you want to live your life by.
That is so awesome. That is how powerful.
Yeah,
it really is. It's profound. And I'm hearing you say it really doesn't take that long by practicing with the coaching and the tapping. You see people making these shifts.
Absolutely. Sometimes I end up with issues that, aren't necessarily directly related to a job, but anytime anyone has something huge, in their lives, it impacts how you can operate. So I recently had a client who had a very difficult upbringing of a parent that was a drug addict and a drug dealer and ended up getting murdered when she was 12. And she was the lookout when she was young. She was the lookout for the cops. And she was just very untrusting of people. And you can imagine if you're growing up in such a chaotic environment where she'd be woken up at 2 a.m. to say, hey, we got to go, that kind of thing, why you might not learn to trust people. And so we did some tapping on this, on all of this just one time. And she felt a huge shift in releasing the hold that kind of had on her and being able to step into trusting people more, including her family, her husband and her children.
Wow. I mean, that's life-changing. That's massive, massive progress. I mean, from that level of adrenaline and, that anxiety and just the terror. It's like, oh my God, the anticipation. Oh my God, I've got to be somehow, even when I'm sleeping, I've got to be awake at all times.
Right.
And
Right.
talk about the drain, the depletion in all of the body systems.
Right. Right. Well, and I'll give another example of a client I'm working with right now who has wanted to start her own business forever, and she just can't bring herself to do it. And so the very first session we worked on, when she was growing up, her father had a hair salon. And not only did he get in trouble with the IRS, he got sued by somebody. And so in her mind, it gets connected. So if you think that having a business means getting in trouble with the IRS and being sued, you're not going to want to really jump in and start a business. And so we did tapping to release an emotional connection between having a business and having legal and tax problems, and letting her remember that she is not her father, that she has control over doing her taxes and making sure they're done right and all of that. And so just we're kind of like bit by bit chipping away at different beliefs that keep her from being able to open the business that she's always wanted.
She's always wanted deep down. That's her core. And these fears are blocking her. And then it's violating to her very being. Because she can't act because of the fears. But then if you're able to get those fears out of the way and make them, the reality is there's a lot, like you said about a business, there's a lot of little details, but there are safety mechanisms to put in place. And, work with somebody reputable for your taxes and, get some help with your bookkeeping and all of that. And so that her dream doesn't, it's not lost. Right. Because what a tragedy. We all have a purpose and a destiny on this planet, and we want to remove the obstacles. There's always obstacles, the barriers. Life gets in the way, but that's what you're doing. You're helping people so that those barriers vanish.
Yes. And at the same time, building their belief in themselves that if and when, because we all know having a business, failure is just part of it. We are going to fail sometimes. And so building the confidence in ourselves that we have the resilience to deal with whatever comes our way.
Exactly. That core level. It's a deep inner confidence. Yeah. So this is awesome. Very important work. Very important. So you work with women entrepreneurs. Can you give examples of, is it women just starting out, or women that have had a few businesses, or what range?
I typically work with smaller business owners, like a solopreneur or less than 5 employees. That's typically, and yes, usually someone who's either new or fairly new. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Either someone new or fairly new, or like my current client who wants to start a business. Okay. But even women who have had a successful business, they still struggle at times. I had a client who, an employee quit, and it just impacted her self-confidence in her ability to hire the right people. And she'd hired a lot of people over the years, but for some reason, this just hit her in kind of a wrong way. And so we did tapping on releasing the self-doubt and the lack of confidence. And then we also put together a plan on how will she go about hiring somebody, what needs to be done so that she can train without her having to train the person 100%. And how does she get herself kind of out of the day-to-day more mundane details, and how can she automate so that she has more time to focus on hiring someone? So it was kind of a twofold, and she's a very successful business owner. And then another one, a successful interior designer, very successful, her and her business partner. And yet procrastination was a huge impact on her life. And it came from when she was 2, she almost died. And so her mom became very overprotective. And it was kind of her way to try to her mom was always kind of directing her, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so she became a procrastinator, that and some things in college. And so, again, in the first instance, we did a combination of coaching and tapping. And in the second instance, it was almost entirely tapping, working on those deep underlying belief systems. Yeah.
In a situation like that, so when you're doing the work, does then the person you're working with, they practice the tapping then afterwards, like in between sessions?
They can, but they don't have to.
Okay. So you do the tapping with them?
I do.
Okay.
I also am certified in an advanced technique called matrix reimprinting, and we use that. It's a way to work with your younger child at the point in time that a trauma occurs. And so I kind of switch in between tapping and matrix reimprinting as needed.
I see. Wow, that's awesome. So tell us, what would be one thing that women business owners could start doing right now to start experiencing better long-term results?
Well, there's the big one is becoming aware of the thoughts that they have before they either check out or withdraw or lose their enthusiasm. A lot of times when you may be excited and you're there and you're present, and then something happens, you have a thought, and you can literally sometimes feel your energy just drain out of you. Well, what is that thought? And just becoming aware of your thoughts can really change things, and giving yourself permission not to believe them, to decide that you can choose your thoughts. It's really giving yourself that permission. And it's not something that we're taught, that we can choose our thoughts. We just think our thoughts just go and we just have to deal with them. But they're just thoughts. And this is, one way to know for sure that your thoughts are not true with a capital T. And that is because other people have thoughts, different thoughts than you do when you are in the same situation. So, for example, 2 children growing up in the same abusive household, one will become like a victim, think that they're a victim. One may become an activist and protect others. One may just heal and, never, and not have it impact them the rest of their lives.
Right.
So the thought could be, well, it's true for me. Well, how is it serving you? If you want to hold on to that thought as your truth, is it serving you? Is it in your best interest? Is it positive? Does it uplift you? And if not, choose a different thought.
See, that's so empowering, because I think I know from working with people that so many people become victims of their thoughts. They really do. It's like they become fixed false beliefs. And I don't mean like a real delusion, but it almost is, because they keep hearing the same thought running through their minds, and then they're completely overwhelmed. It becomes a fixed, unshakable belief. But what I'm hearing you say is don't accept that. You can choose your own thoughts. You can be empowered to think new thoughts. And for a lot of people, I know this is very, very challenging, but I think what you're talking about really gets at the root of a lot.
It does. It does. And one of the things that we do in EFT tapping, it's very important in EFT tapping to tap on the negative. You might say the negative. So whatever issue that you're working on, you tap on the negative. But once you've kind of tapped on that long enough, you go into what's called a reframe. And a reframe is just a different way to look at the situation.
Right.
Like if you're tapping on parents being overprotective, like my client. Well, you might get to the point where you've tapped on all your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings. And then you get to the point where you're like, well, maybe she was scared. Maybe mom was scared. Maybe mom did the best she could. Maybe I can forgive mom, and so you go into kind of a different way to view the circumstance, that because you're kind of in your thought loop, you don't even know. And it's just the one client that I'm working with right now who wants to start a business. I asked her how, at the end of our last session, what she got out of the session. And she literally said that, the way I think about things isn't necessarily true. And sometimes you just need a little help getting a little different perspective, a different way to look at something.
Yes, exactly. But again, how empowering. So this is tremendous. And you're doing tremendous work, really helping people. It's got to make you feel good.
It does. And the variety of issues and the variety of ways that people just feel so stuck in their lives, and just I've gone through a lot myself in this. When I was in the mid 2000s, I had a business coach, and that poor guy, I mean, seriously, the poor guy, I don't think I did one thing he told me to do. I was probably his worst client ever, because I had so many of the issues that I help my clients with, like social anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism, because I was trying to prove myself, my value, hating to be seen, hating to be center of attention, which is kind of part and parcel with social anxiety. And so as I've done my own work, and I've been on a personal journey for a long time, but it was really when I became an EFT tapping practitioner in early 2019 that things have just exponentially changed for me, completely transformed. And I don't dissociate from my body anymore. I don't leave my body anymore. I'm present, and I feel I feel like the heavy burden of all those beliefs and thoughts and everything it's just gone from myself, and it's wonderful.
Wow. Where can our listeners learn more about what you do and reach out to you?
Well, my website is tappingintoyourtrueself.com. And that's probably the best way right now. I also have I have a content management system that has all of my freebies and my courses and everything, but I don't have an easy URL to say. So all I can say is go to the services page on my website, and that will click into that. And then you can kind of see what all I have.
And we'll post that link, but it's tappingintoyourtrueself.com.
Yes.
And then go on to the services link.
Right.
Okay. And before we close, Lisa, you are a 2-time best-selling author. And
Yeah.
what are your books?
Well, after I got certified in EFT tapping, I joined a book writing program. And as the topic that I chose to write my books about was helping moms with difficult teenagers, because I had been through that experience myself. We had we had 2 difficult teens, but my son was kind of put my daughter to shame, and he was really very difficult. And so they're both tapping books for parents. One is called Surviving Your Out of Control Teen, and one is called Crazy Little Thing Called Teens. And I share in there pretty honestly the journey that we had, the things that I learned about myself and about my parenting. And then there's like, for example, parenting by guilt is not a good way to parent. And so I have tapping scripts for different things that parents may be dealing with.
I see. And those books are available on Amazon?
They are on Amazon, or you can go to lisagaynichols.com. And I have to do Lisa Gay because there's a famous Lisa Nichols. Yeah. And that is not me.
That we all know. Yes. Yeah. We all
Yes.
know and love. And, but no, let's make sure we've got that. So we'll include that website as well. lisagaynichols.com.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. You do phenomenal work, and yeah, it's really awesome. And I know you're really helping women break free. And I would have to say that a lot of people, until they experience something like working with you or learning about tapping, or they don't think there's any hope. They just think that's the way it is and go on. And it breaks my heart to say this, but it's true. Living with mediocrity is like just kind of surviving. And what I'm hearing you say, that you can break out of that and thrive.
Absolutely.
And that's so awesome and so empowering.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me today.
Oh, yes. It's a joy to have you here. All right. So we'll have the links below. And again, Lisa, thank you so very much.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.